I let all three of my husband's friends in. I never imagined that one evening could change everything. My husband was away on a business trip and I was home alone. I had been curious about his friends for a long time. I wanted to know them better. I wanted to see who they really were behind the laughter and jokes. I wondered if they were kind. I wondered if they had secrets. I wondered if I would like them. The doorbell rang and I opened the door. Rahul, Sami and Adeel were standing there. Rahul smiled and made a joke that made me laugh. Sami nodded quietly and Adeel looked at me calmly. I invited them in and led them to the living room. I offered tea and snacks and we all sat down. I tried to act normal but my heart was beating fast. I was nervous and excited at the same time. At first we talked about small things, we laughed about funny memories, we talked about movies and shows, we joked about small incidents. Rahul made everyone laugh with his jokes. Sami smiled quietly and sometimes gave thoughtful comments. Adeel listened carefully and added small words that made me curious. I felt comfortable for a moment but deep inside I knew this evening would not stay simple. After some time Rahul started joking about my husband in ways that made me uneasy. He laughed at his mistakes and shared stories I had never heard before. Sami looked at him seriously and said we should be honest and open. Adeel leaned forward and said there were things about my husband I did not know. I felt nervous but I wanted to hear everything. I wanted to understand the people I loved. They started telling me stories from the past. Some stories were funny and made me laugh. Some stories were sad and made me feel pain. Some stories shocked me and made my heart beat faster. I realized I had never really known my husband the way I was learning from his friends. That night I realized that even people we love can have parts of their life that are hidden from us. Rahul spilled tea on the couch and I tried to calm everyone down but the words kept coming out. Secrets and truths that had been hidden for years started appearing. I listened as Adeel spoke about my husband's work and his decisions. I could not believe it. Sami reminded everyone about trust and loyalty. I felt overwhelmed but I also felt awake to a new understanding of the people I loved. The conversation became deeper and more personal. Rahul confessed things he had never told anyone about his own life. He told me about his struggles, his fears and his regrets. Sami shared how he had always felt protective of my husband and sometimes wished he could have done more. Adeel spoke quietly about his observations and how he always wanted to see my husband happy. I listened to everything and felt my heart opening to a new world of understanding. Hours passed and the evening grew intense but also full of learning. I understood the bond between my husband and his friends. I understood their love for him and their care for each other. I also understood how much I loved my husband and how much I wanted to know him completely. My feelings were mixed but I knew this evening was important. Suddenly the door opened and my husband came home early. I froze. The friends looked at each other and my husband smiled and asked what was happening. I explained everything slowly and honestly. The friends shared their stories too. My husband listened and then he laughed a little and hugged me. I felt relief and love. I felt gratitude for understanding his friends and him better than I ever had. We continued talking for a long time. We shared our thoughts and feelings. We laughed about funny memories and we cried about past mistakes. I felt a connection with the friends that I had never imagined. I realized that letting people in even when it feels risky can bring truth and understanding. I also realized that secrets do not always hurt. They can teach us lessons and make us stronger. Rahul told stories about our husband's childhood and school days. I laughed at the memories. I could not imagine my husband as a young boy making mistakes and having fun. Sami told stories about adventures we had never known. Adeel shared moments of silence and observation that revealed a lot about my husband's personality. I felt like I was seeing him through new eyes. I felt closer to him and to his friends. As the night grew late, we talked about dreams and fears. We discussed relationships and loyalty. We talked about honesty and trust. The friends shared moments of regret and moments of joy. I shared my own thoughts and feelings. I realized that one evening could teach me more than years of conversation could. I realized that trust and understanding are more important than comfort. I realized that love grows when we let people in and listen with our hearts. The friends eventually started leaving one by one. They hugged me and thanked me for letting them in. I hugged them back and felt grateful for the evening. I realized that people show their true colors when they feel safe and welcome. I realized that kindness and patience can bring unexpected blessings. The house felt quiet and calm. I sat down and reflected on everything that had happened. I found a small envelope my husband had left behind. I opened it and found a note. It said, "Thank you for letting them in. I knew you could handle everything." I smiled and felt warmth in my heart. I knew that this evening had changed me. I knew that I had learned lessons I would never forget. I knew that love and friendship are stronger when we are honest and brave. From that night onward, I looked at my husband differently. I looked at his friends differently. I saw kindness, honesty, and love in a new way. I felt stronger, I felt wiser, and I felt closer to the people I cared about. I realized that letting people in even when it feels risky can bring the most unexpected blessings. I never forgot that night and the lessons it taught me. The memories of that evening stayed with me for a long time. I remembered every laugh, every tear, every secret, and every hug. I knew that life is full of surprises and truths waiting to be discovered. I knew that love is not just about comfort, it is about trust, honesty, and courage. I knew that friendship is not just about laughter, it is about support and truth. I knew that letting people in can change your life forever. Even months later, when I thought about that evening, I smiled. I remembered the way Rahul made everyone laugh. I remembered Sammy's serious advice. I remembered Adeel's quiet wisdom. I remembered my husband's reactions and my own feelings. I realized that the world is bigger and deeper than we see, and letting people in opens doors we never knew existed. That night changed my life. I learned about courage, love, honesty, and trust. I learned that every person has a story that deserves to be heard. I learned that letting people in can bring challenges but also blessings. I learned that understanding others makes our hearts bigger. I learned that one evening can teach lessons that last a lifetime. I never imagined that inviting 3 friends into my home could teach me so much and change my perspective forever.